If ever there's a year to go, I am sick and tired of having no independence and no autonomy. I am done with that. Well, if that's the case, on February the 16th, take your last glass of champagne as a non-autonomous, non-independent soul and wake up on the 17th and go, new me.
This is Reclaim Your Magic. Welcome back to Reclaim Your Magic. I'm your host, Jess Phillips, and today we have Hagan Fox. He is an incredible astrologer with a whole bunch of personality. But what I love about Hagan and why I invited him on the podcast is because he knows Chinese astrology, Western astrology, numerology, cartography. He is a full expert in so many magical realms. Today we are getting all into the year of the fire horse. What does 2026 hold astrologically, and probably a few more interesting details. Just give us an essence of what's the true difference between Chinese astrology and Western astrology? Where did Chinese astrology kind of start?
Well, I think if you have to go back, there are obviously different systems, but where astrology really truly differentiates is where some are solar based and some are lunar based. So it's like a sun and moon separation. Western astrology is solar based, and Vedic astrology and Chinese astrology is lunar based. So that's a fundamental split between it. So one would argue the lunar base is more accurate just because of the depth of the moon, the fact that the moon can move tight. You got to visualize it. I'm very left-handed, and so I visualize everything and I conceptualize it. And I literally just picture this, this entity just shifting these enormous, powerful, natural energies. You just think, wow. So if I was to lean one way or t'other, I would lean towards a lunar-based system. But at the same time, solar-based astrology is equally powerful. And what one has to understand, and this is why you said at the beginning, I cover literally numerology and cartography and Western astrology and Chinese astrology. These are all interweaving metaphysical energies that work as one constantly for the individual. But there's a very long answer to say, fundamentally, lunar and solar based is how they fundamentally differ from each other.
That makes a lot of sense. So that's why Western, they say, is more about psychology of the individual.
Yes, I'm always worried of the word psychology because everyone is their own psychologist, right?
That's true.
But it's really quite true. And also, you would argue that yes, it's more mathematical. Rather, that's how I would more say it. As in Vedic astrology and the ancient astrologies, like Chinese and Vedic, it was originally symbolic. And what happened was back in the day when the Gregorian calendar came in, it introduced a time-based system. And when that time-based system came in, that it really did switch it from sort of lunar-based symbolic to kind of mathematical, kind of solar. That's kind of what happened. And it was sort of intentional because the truth is you can't manipulate symbolism, but you can sure as hell manipulate time. And we as astrologers actually have to work in the time-based system that we inhabit, if that makes any sense. Albeit, I love symbolic astrology. I love Egyptian astrology, Babylonian astrology, and Horus. But these are bigger conversations type thing. But you're right. Rather than say psychological, it's more sort of one is very much mathematically time based, specifically time based, and the other one is kind of their origins are symbolic.
Okay, that makes sense. And that's why we're about to celebrate Chinese New Year in February, but we've celebrated Western New Year January 1.
Exactly. And just for the record, if anyone wants to work out, well, when does the Chinese New Year occur every single year? Because it really is random. It's any day between January 1st and February 19th, the period of Aquarius. And it always falls on the Aquarius, the Aquarius moon, the Aquarius new moon. So every single year, the Chinese New Year occurs on the Aquarius new moon, just for the record. Yeah.
Great. Okay, that's actually really helpful because I was wondering why it tended to bounce around back and forth.
Well, this is it. That's why. It's bouncing around from Jan 21st to February 19th. It's well, how's that on that day? It's the Aquarian new moon in that particular year. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I want to hit on something you said about symbology. So is that when you say symbology, are you talking about okay, this is the year of the horse? Is that the symbology that you're talking about? Or is that that's just one example?
In a way, kind of not really, because symbolism it's like it's really difficult. It is kind of the essence of symbolism. It's more about what people see, feel, understand, and it's sort of much more organic symbolism. It's just sort of,
Okay.
and it's much more kind of connected, the ethereal realm
Got it.
to the
Yeah.
sort of like as above, so below. That
Hmm.
term, it all derived from that sort of symbolism era, as it were. And now, if you connect the ethereal realm and terra firma, I normally use the term we are electromagnetically connected, very mathematical
Yes.
term, right?
Yeah.
But what in the old sages or the Egyptians and the Greeks back in many years ago would understand the connection between heaven and earth in a much more
Mhm.
symbolic way, and now it's a much more mathematical way. The fire horse, that system, that Chinese system, is rock and roll. I love it. It's a sweet story. Effectively, an emperor, I think it's Emperor Z, TZE, but I could be wrong, but because there were quite a number of emperors. Anyway, this one wanted to create an astrological system, wanted to be remembered for it. But he's actually a very wise man. I always thought that he might be an Aquarian or an Aquarian ascendant because these are
Mm.
the forward-thinking prescient characters. But we're unable to establish that. But what the Chinese did, this is why it's so beautiful, right? Let me take it back a bit. In Western astrology, you have to differentiate between male and female. Like a Taurus woman, a Taurus man, completely different.
Hmm.
Gemini man, Gemini, completely different. 24 independent characters. Chinese astrology, these 12 animals were studied so vigorously by the Chinese that you don't need to differentiate between male and female. A snake is the same, male or female. A dragon is the same, male or female. It's so well researched. They studied their people for hundreds and hundreds of years, really. And
Hmm.
then at some point, and then this emperor came in and went, right, we have enough knowledge. We've studied our people for so long. And they allocated uh, an animal to the characteristics of the people that were born that particular year. So a whole bunch of people were born in the year of the goat who were super sensitive, but kind and generous and thoughtful. And then they looked at all the people that were born in the year of the snake, and it was just a whole bunch of despots. And then they look at the people that were born in the year of the ox, and they just all like their power. And it was sort of really done. And this is the whole thing about astrology. A lot of it is like observation, just understanding
Yeah.
observation and patterns and cycles. This is what astrology is:
Yeah.
observation, patterns, cycles, repeated, including the characters that were born every 12 years. It's like, there we go, another batch of goats, another batch of pigs. And so ultimately that, but how to decree the order of the animals? And this is kind of fictional-esque. It may well have occurred, who knows? But the story goes that the 12 animals, they had to across the river to the emperor's beautiful estate palace. Right? So they all started on the line and they all dove into the river and they scuffling across the river, all 12 animals. I'll go through them: rat, ox, tiger, hare, dragon, snake, horse, the goat, monkey, rooster, dog,
Pig.
pig. Right. So they all off they went. They dove in, and it was quite a close little contest. Just as they got to the other side, the ox was leading, powering its way forward, and the little rat was scuffling along behind, but wasn't going to make it to the bank first. But because the rat is known for its savvy, wily behavior, it jumped on the back of the ox, and just as the ox was about to touch the bank, the rat flew over the head of the ox and landed first, and was decreed the first animal. And this is very representative of a rat, and you are
Hmm.
one,
Yes.
Jess, and I'm sure you recognize the savvy trait of the rat. And then
Yes.
they all followed in a particular order. And last across the line was the indolent pig, because the pig does love to just chill out, relax, doesn't do stress, doesn't do races. Was looking for the food somewhere in the river before he got to the river. But it's a great little story. But
Hmm.
it's very but all these characteristics, these little nuances. But the thing is that's what I love about the rat and the ox. The rat and the ox are extremely compatible. So it shows you that the ox does have quite a forgiving nature. And it's things like that,
Mm.
these little nuances. Okay, said the ox. Well played, rat. Credit where it's due.
Right.
You bounced off my left ear and made it to the bank. So it's a great story. But the power, the essence of Chinese astrology is that literally decades, centuries really of research of every 12-year cycle, just studying these animals and the repeated characteristics. Okay, now we're ready to create the system. But it wasn't just somebody woke up one day. It was seriously studied and researched. Yeah.
That's amazing. I don't think I understood that they were actually studying humanity during this
That's
time.
insane.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, as an astrologer, you understand it because this is how I learned my craft. You know, my father taught me obviously astrology when I
Yes.
was 14 because he was a cartographer and astrologer. I left school at 15. When dad introduced me to cartography and astrology at 14 years old, I was utterly enthralled. I mean, we're both effectively mathematicians, if you like, right?
Sure.
But I was completely enthralled. These are the stories that just
Yeah.
absolutely enthralled me. But no, as astrologers, dad and myself, it's observation. It's
Yeah.
observation, and these repeated cycles. This is how you accrue knowledge. It's this
Hmm.
way. It's very difficult to become an astrologer overnight, right? Just
Yes.
like that. I'm an astrologer because you can use data and you can use software, great, but it's the interpretation. It's the
Hmm.
years of observing. It's the years of understanding the cycles and the patterns, not the cliched, writings of years gone by. Because it's just like
Right.
observation is the nuance. They're little things
Yeah.
like Sagittarius are meant to be ruled by Jupiter, right? And Pisces by Neptune because of the water connection. But the truth is that Jupiter is a very lazy, right? Very lazy planet. Doesn't really want to do anything. He just wants to indulge and chill out, right? That's not Sagittarian, but it's very Pisces, right? It's little things like that, right? And it is, and Sagittarian women out there will understand it up and down like a yo-yo.
Yeah.
Sagittarian women are known for spontaneity because they don't know how they're going to feel on any given day. So, as an example, if you ask a Sagittarian woman on Monday, "Do you want to go out on Friday?" the Sagittarian woman will say, "I'll let you know on Friday," because she doesn't know how she's going to feel on Friday. But
Uh-huh.
she feels great on the Monday, and she'll say, "But I'll go out tonight," because she feels good. And that is very representative of Neptune energy, up and down like a yo-yo. You never know where you stand. But this is all years of understanding and observing Sagittarius, understanding that flip, where because originally both
Sure.
Pisces and Sagittarius were ruled by Jupiter. Then they discovered Neptune, so they had to allocate 1 to 1. And they just, again, probably a bunch of men, just went Pisces water, Neptune, water. There you go. It's
Right.
like that. No observation, no nothing. Just male ego, dictatorial decision making nonsense. Anyways,
Yes. No,
that
I
one.
love it. I think that's wise though, because I do, in any trade, right? Or in any career, any field, expertise is what makes you stand out. Anyone can have the
Oh,
same basic knowledge, right?
it,
So that makes a lot of sense to me. But I do think the observational nature is so important. And that's where your experience deepens. I think that's where your understanding deepens. And as I've started to study astrology myself over the last kind of year and a half,
well
um,
done.
thank you. I recognize that and I see it, and it's valuable to hear other people talk about their experiences, and you absorb it and you take it into your own life. So it's a
It,
working,
it's,
a
it's,
working,
it's
living,
exactly that.
breathing system, right?
It really is. It's what allows you to perfect the craft, right?
Yeah,
It's just, because people like, I just need to read, but it's like observation, and then the interpretation becomes very much
it
like
does.
derived from this really up close, personal, interactive observation. That's what
Exactly.
makes it accurate. That's what makes it powerful. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure people are sick of me asking them for their birth times and all sorts of information, but it does help. It really does help, doesn't it?
I think you have to do it.
My kids all know their sun, moon, and rising, and they know their elements, and they all know because we celebrate Chinese New Year every year, so they know what year they are and they know what element they are in. So
I,
that's another aspect, right? You said earlier, I'm the wood rat. I am, right? But like,
yeah.
why does Chinese astrology involve the elements?
That's a great question. By the way, I love your kids. I love your kid. Any kid that knows their sun, moon, and ascendant between the
Mhm.
ages of 3 and 8.
Oh, I
I,
mean, my 3-year-old is like, I'm like, hey, baby, what are you? And he's like, Mommy, I'm a Capricorn moon, but I was born under a full moon. He knows.
Oh my God. I might have to adopt your kids. That's rock and roll. No, but no, the elements. The Chinese system itself is beautiful. It's it's 12 animals and 5 elements, right? So when you
Yes.
think elements, don't go anywhere near Western astrology, right?
Okay.
Because the elements in Western astrology is actually very misleading. It has no impact whatsoever, really. Like Scorpio's water element. So you think, oh, it's probably the weakest one of weak sun signs. Scorpio women are the strongest women on the planet.
Hmm.
They're stronger than all men. So you can immediately the elements is misleading in Western astrology, but in
Sure.
Chinese astrology, years and years of observation. So how I mean to put it in very simplistic terms, you've got the 12 animals which I've already reeled off, and the 5 elements is a 10-year system. The 5 elements have 2 years in a row. So it goes metal, metal,
Uh-huh.
water, 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 and how it works. A very easy way for your listeners to understand it is that every year that ends in 0 and 1, this is right back throughout thousands of years going back, or sort of like BC. Every year that ends in 0 and 1 is a metal element. And
Hmm.
every year that ends in 2 and 3 is a water element. 4 and 5 is a wood element. 6 and 7 is fire. And 8 and 9 is earth. And now I'll explain the difference between them because, again, what the Chinese observed was every one that was born a year that ended in 0 and 1 had these very metal tendencies, which is rather ruthless, rigid, inflexible, single minded, determined, tough, super sensitive, because if you even scratch metal, it sort of, it sort of like
Mm.
starts to kind of yield and acquiesce and get really most upset, and it just takes about like the shine off its magnificence, as it were. So it's strangely sensitive. And it is the metal element, but you very rarely see it, and it uses its sensitivity. It responds with the sensitive. Its sensitive response is aggressive because it's a very aggressive, determined, single-minded, ambitious element. But it's super, super strong. And so everyone that's born these years, even if it was a goat, which is the least strong animal, the metal goat displayed these rather single-minded, quite ruthless characteristics, whereas the others didn't. So this is what differentiates all the 5 goats: the metal goat, the water goat, wood, fire, and earth. Very, very different. So the metal element is single-minded, determined, and pretty brutal and ruthless. Then you got the water element, and it's kind of as you would imagine. It's very fluid, it's very organic, it's very empathetic, it's very sympathetic. You'd imagine it to be the most creative, but it's not. Right?
Mm.
It's just the kind of harmonizing. It requires harmony. It's the kind of these are the kind of characters that just think, okay, you'll be, and it's really quite tricky. If, for example, this is how if you're a water dragon, right? The dragon is nasty. Dragon's not a good example. Water monkey. It's quite
Mm.
tricky because the monkey is incredibly sociable, but the water element needs calm and silence and tranquility. So this monkey is just wanting to tear it up, but the water element is going, I don't want to tear it up, and it creates this kind of internal mechanism going on. But so the water element is exactly as you would imagine it to be. It's beautiful, it's kind. There's no real malice there at all. And then you've got the wood element, which is probably the nicest element because it's the most consistent.
Mm.
Like, metal is consistent, but brutally so. Water is kind of up and down like a wave, like water. And wood is actually consistent. You just imagine this tree that sort of bends a little bit, but it's really
Mhm.
consistent of nature, the most creative of all the elements, the wood
Hmm.
element. If ever I meet anyone with a wood element that hasn't got a creative sideline, ultimately they become quite disappointed with themselves because they need it. It's also the most sociable element, the wood element. It's just easygoing, affable, and has all the best traits, if you like, of the other 4. But it can be too indulgent. It can be too decadent. It can
Hmm.
waste many, many years playing too hard and not perfecting their craft. I speak as a wood element, and my father was always berating me, saying, "Oh, you better be perfecting your craft while you're sinking that treble Volca type thing, because it's the wood element is easily
Yeah.
sidetracked by having a good time." The truth is, the wood element is only truly happy when it's having fun. And the
Mm.
Achilles heel of the wood element is it doesn't do stress, right? So it
Yeah.
needs this sort of social outlet. You're a wood element, you understand, yes, right?
Hmm.
Where
Yeah.
you're dealing with 3 kids, you're working so hard. If you deny the wood element that social outlet, it becomes a problem. Somebody
Yeah.
cop for it, right?
Hmm.
But the wood element is really cool, and really what some of the most creative people are. I'll tell you who the other creative ones are, and it's an interesting reason for it. Then you got the fire element, which is absolutely as you imagine, right? It's like you never know what you're going to get. It's like fire. You don't know where the fire is going to go. And
Yeah.
so it can be exciting and wonderful and warming and just cozy and gorgeous. And wow, I want to spend my time with this fire element for the rest of my life. They're just wonderful, kind of. There's a great warmth there. But on the dark side of fire, volatility, no, inconsistent nature, quite wild, quite untamable to a certain degree, but bags of energy, loads of energy,
Hmm.
easily bored. Can
Yeah.
imagine. Like a flame, a candle, right? Will just I always picture candles as being the most bored characters on the planet because it's a flame that's just desperate to tear off in one direction or the other, and it just wobbles upwards gently, sort of thing. So I feel sorry for candles per se, because fire needs to move, it
Yeah.
needs to go, it needs to sort of go left, right, and center. But very exciting. If you're bored and you want to have a great time, go find yourself a fire element because you
Yeah.
just don't know where it's going to end up. And then the other creative one, but this is as a consequence of perseverance, is the earth element, right? Because the
Hmm.
earth element is exactly as in my rock solid, steady, again, consistent of nature, but they do struggle. They do break down. They're so stoic and so resilient. And there's loads of examples of earth element sports people that have a nervous breakdown, or they just crash just as they reach the peak of their career because they've been so dedicated from such a young age and they've expressed no emotion because they can be really quite emotionless. So there's no
Mm.
outlet. And then they reach the peak of their career, they're asked to finally extend themselves, and there's nothing left in the tank, and they're rigid and they're uptight. And I think there was a famous gymnast, can't remember her name, but anyway, but she's born it's the ox and earth combined is the one that just gives that off nothing, and they just eventually collapse. They're resilient as hell, and they kind of never die. But when they do, they're gone in a day because they just run out of
Mm.
steam. It's just gone. But the earth element, the reason they're creative is because the application to perfect the craft is remarkable for the earth element. Like these are the kids that will start learning guitar at 5
Mm.
and practice for like 10 hours a day, and then by the time they're 11, they're freaking genius. So if you have a musically orientated child that's an earth element or has a creative streak, you really can absolutely encourage them from a very young age, because the application of young earth element children is greater than all the others put together. The others are too
Mm.
distracted. So just want to make a note of. If you think my kid is not the most charming, charismatic kid on the planet, he's actually rather serious, but boy, could he be the greatest lead guitarist in the history of the universe. And you look at a lot of rock guitarists, right? They're magicians, but
Hmm.
do they have a personality? Not really. The lead singer does, but
Yeah.
not the lead guitarist. You know what I mean? It's just often you'll find their own earth element. These are just I'm just giving you these kind of
Yeah.
but the element's
Interesting.
a major player, and they're a major player when you come into a particular year because they change all the time, right? And this is what's interesting about you and I as well. We're both wood elements, and when we enter, and the last 2 years were the wood element. I know a lot of
Mm.
people who were born in a water element year, that's a year they turned 3, and they were saying to me last year, I'm exhausted, I'm done, I'm broken. I said, it's because the wood element, and this is wood snake, takes all its energy from the preceding element, which is water. So when it's a wood element year, the water element people are exhausted because it's their energy that the wood year is taking the
Oh,
water energy. So
interesting.
for you and I, the fire energy, the fire element is taking all this energy from you and I, the wood element. And so to all wood element people out there, you can't push your luck, you can't overload. You've got to be really respectful of your
Hmm.
nervous system, your energy, because
Yes.
but the moment you feel tired as a wood element, when you're in a fire year, that's your body saying, I'm running on empty. Don't push your luck. And you're running on empty because the fire horse is just taking all that wood energy. Just want to
Okay,
make a
that's
note.
so okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. I don't think I realized that they played on each other like
Oh,
that, but it does make sense.
it makes perfect
Huh.
sense. And the interactive energies, the interaction of the elements is absolutely magical. And therein, there are two elements that really fare well in a fire element year. It's the element that the fire element fuels. Now, fire gives energy to the earth element because when the fire burns wood and the ashes, uh, like they seep into the earth, and it gives strength to earth element. So anyone in a fire element year, born in a year that ends in an 8 or a 9, an earth element year, is really empowered energetically in a fire year. So if you're born in the 8 and 9 year, when the fire horse kicks in, round of applause for you. And then the other element that fares well in a fire year is the element that controls fire, because that's empowered. So which element do you think would control fire?
It depends. I don't know. I mean, I guess water would control fire,
Right
right?
answer. Is
Yeah.
exactly right. So if you're
Okay.
born in a year that ends in 2 and 3, like last year, the 2s and the 3s were like, I'm knackered because the wood was taking the element. But then the next year, water controls fire. So now the water element is empowered because it controls fire. It's like,
So
not taking my
interesting.
energy, pal. I control you.
Uh-huh.
The elemental system is beautiful. It's so interactive, and it
Yeah.
impacts us as human
Mhm.
beings. It's like, okay, well, hold on a second, which elements in play? Who are benefiting? What am I? Who's taking my energy? Am I? Well, so, and then the other elements are kind of like neutral. And if you're a fire element in a fire year, it's a neutral year. You know, you're not
Okay.
losing, you're not gaining, type thing. So it's absolutely fine. But the two elements that suffer, the other element that's suffering is the wood element. Is it just the one element? I'm just thinking out loud here. Uh, Yes, it's just the one that's being sourced. So only one element suffers at the hands of the other elements. And last year it was water, and this year it's wood. Yeah,
It's
that's how
wood.
it works.
Great. Okay. Well, we'll
Yeah.
get ready. I already feel like my nervous system has been like, hi, you need to slow down immediately
Well,
because if you go into next year, you're going to die.
yeah, well, no, but literally, if that's the case, but now you know it. Knowledge is,
Yeah.
see, this knowledge for me, you and I both, right? We understand it.
Yeah.
Knowledge is magical.
It
It's
is.
absolutely, it's powerful because you can't always act on it in the instant, but you have it in your back pocket. It's like
Yeah.
that. Thank you. I'm taking that,
Yeah.
right? People often
Yes.
give me knowledge. And I'm like, I love that. Can't do a thing with it right now, but I'm keeping
But
it. So
you
when
never
I'm
know.
able, yeah, yeah, it's that.
Exactly. Okay. So then taking this to 2026 in a couple
Yeah.
of weeks here, probably when this airs, it'll be about a week and a half out, February
Okay.
17th, year of the fire horse. I read something that it was a double fire year.
A double fire year, yes, it is, because the reason is because every element has an element itself. Like, so in a way, a fire horse is a fire horse, right?
Right.
As another example, the dragon is a wood element, and I'm a dragon, so I'm a wood dragon, right? So that's what that means. So the
Okay.
every animal has an actual element itself that it owns, if you like. And so and the
Naturally occurring element.
yeah,
Okay.
and natural carrying element, if you like. But the reason I could, because there were 1,440 characters in my system when I fused Western and Chinese astrology. And now if I incorporate, and that it creates over 2 million one-to-one dynamics. And when I was creating the system, I thought if I include the animal's sort of essence element
Hmm.
as well, and it's going to create a gazillion of. And I thought I can't go there, but I'm always aware of it. And so
Yes.
you're absolutely right. When it's a fire year or wood year, right? It's actually hugely benefic for the elements that benefit from the fire, which is earth and
Um,
water. Less so for you and I, Jess Phillips, because
yes.
we're whatever. Right? So we're really going. It's going to suck us dry this year. It's a problem. You know what I mean?
I'm
Like,
ready.
and what's interesting is like last year the snake is. I think it's a snake wood. I think the snake is wood as well. So the waters would have been absolutely exhausted because it would have been wood. And there, but that's how it works. So it's really so yes, it's definitely fire. And one of the
Okay.
reasons that the fire horse, because there are 5 horses, and in Chinese astrology, the fire horse is not well liked. Did you know that or not?
I did. I heard something about how because it was what 1966 is the last
Yeah,
time we had the fire horse, and
exactly.
how they were worried about the women in that year.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
they weren't so much worried about the women. They were terrified of the women in that
Okay.
year.
Tell us the
Uh,
story.
and it actually comes down to your point. It's because they were fire. Because the thing about the horse is a beautiful animal, one of my favorite animals. The
Yeah.
male horse is really because they're deeply humanitarian, right? They really are
Hmm.
very, very humanitarian, the horse, and strong, like strong, autonomous, independent humanitarians, the horses. And so the metal horse is like single-minded, but it's not ruthless. You get
Okay.
a metal snake ruthless, metal ox ruthless, metal monkey ruthless. But you get metal in a humanitarian year. It's great because they apply their single-minded determination to good causes, not ego and self.
Okay.
So the metal horse is beautiful. The water, and that's 1990. 2002, the water horse, literally, everyone out there who has a daughter or who knows a water horse born 2002, I have a niece who's born 2002, they are truly beautiful. These are the most
Mm,
beautiful. It's like a humanitarian uh, animal and a water element, but very, very strong and independent and no push out. It's just these are beautiful souls. The wood horse, again, these are beautiful souls, very enormously creative characters. Great, often get many brilliant carpenters and sort of furniture makers born near the wood horse. But again, these are sort of optimistic, happy, again, independent characters. And the earth horse is real zen, super strong. The earth horse is a kind of like you're walking through a forest, right? And you
hmm.
see the most handsome man on the planet just chopping this piece of wood in the most elegant way and kind of
Yeah.
building this log cabin on his own. He's doing it in about a day and a half, sort of thing I dream about. And he turns around and it's like something out of some insane movie. It couldn't be better looking. And he's super chilled and calm. And it's like, that's an Earth Horseman. So
Got it.
if anyone out there is dating an Earth Horse, this is 1978. Round of applause. Well done. Hang on to him. That's he's the cash. But the but
Yes.
the fire horse, and this includes the men as well. Fire. The women in particular are regarded as being truly untamable. Like fire,
Mm,
yeah, because the horses, they're it's independent. They won't be controlled, right? But the essence of their character is beautiful, and the essence of the fire horse is beautiful. But that double fire is, I will determine when I'm going to be nice. I will determine what I do, and I will determine when I do it. And and that's just the fire alone. But the double fire, right? It really, because the other fire element is the goat, is fire, right? But the goat is the most least strong and least volatile of the animals. So they're not fearful of the fire goat, which is actually 1967. This will be next year. So that goat, that's actually a really exciting fight. It actually gives the goat the energy that it needs, right? But when it's aligned with this buckaroo of a fire
yeah.
horse, you get the extra fire. So this is what
Mm,
the dark side, the Chinese got it nailed on. They are scary as hell, literally,
yeah.
and volatile and truly untamable. So
So interesting.
that's a true story because I've
Okay.
lived it.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does the year of the fire horse entail then? If we kind of zoom out and say, all right, let's look at 2026. We've got a whole year in this element and with this
Yeah.
zodiac.
Yeah.
What is the fire horse doing? What is it teaching us? What is it here to do?
Well, yeah, if you look at, because I always look at the energy of the animal itself, this combination of the fire horse, right? The horse is deeply humanitarian. It's
Hmm.
deeply humanitarian, it's deeply autonomous, and it's deeply independent. So the horse will be encouraging everyone who lives a life as sort of dependent on others, right? If ever there's a year to go, I am sick and tired of having no independence and no autonomy. I am done with that. Well, if that's the case, on February the 16th, take your last glass of champagne as a non-autonomous, non-independent soul, and wake up on the 17th and going, new me, independence.
Mm,
I'm going to rely on no one here on in. And really in the age of Aquarius, where it's all about change, fast moving, and you really need to look after number one, but in a humanitarian way.
right.
There is no better year. But really, the horse itself is screaming, you must understand the joy and actually importance of independence and autonomy
Hmm.
in the age of Aquarius, which we're already in. And the fire element is basically saying, and you've got the energy right this year, because if it's a water horse year, it's like it's saying independence is a good thing. Go do some research and understand if it's workable, right? It's
Right.
water. Do it gently. The fire horse is saying, you want it, here's the energy to do it. So it really is
Mm,
the year to do it. It's an energy. There's a lot of energy about for everyone this year. It's a double fire,
okay.
not the wood element, right?
Right.
I know. You and I have to go. Okay, yeah, we can, but like month on, month off, right? It's like and all wood elements born the year that ends in 4 and 5. The moment the body sends out any signal whatsoever, just a random cough
Hmm.
somewhere, it'll give you a little thing, or your eye. When your eye starts to flicker too much, there's either lack of magnesium is normally the reason, but also if you're thinking, no, I'm overloaded on magnesium, and that eye starts to flicker a little bit, it's like that's the
Sit
nervous
down.
system day. I'm that, yeah, sit down. I don't care if you have a box of donuts, but just stop moving, type thing. So little things like so. The message of the horse is, but it's a very. There are two major events happening in Western astrology which are aligned with it, but on an individual level, it really the horse's favorite thing is independence and not being tied down or just like you
I
know.
love that.
And they're never reliant on anyone. They hate it, can't bear it. So
Yeah.
if you're a horse, you must adopt that mindset. It's time. No horse is ever really happy being told what to do and being tied down. But if you're a character that is like sick and tired of it, this year is the one that's really encouraged you to get out of that cycle.
I I love, love, love that energy for the whole collective because I think you and I were talking about this earlier, but I just have had this feeling for a while, really since COVID, that like we're pushing towards more autonomy, more entrepreneurship, like getting
Oh,
back into people being autonomous. And that is like, I think if I had one hill to die on, it would
yeah.
be that I want people to understand that there is more than one path. There's
Yes.
more than one way to create your life. Your life is a canvas.
Yeah.
You can do it however, just because people have done it like this for 20 years is not a good enough reason for you to do it if you want
No.
to try it in a different way. So, like, let's go. You're the fire horse. I'm
Uh,
so
I,
happy about that.
I'm so on the same page. The thing is just is like this age we're living in, the age of growth, the age of technology, and AI. Should mention that AI is actually a beautiful thing. So a few of my followers on Instagram will berate me sometimes, going, "Yeah, but we're all going to lose jobs." No, the thing about
Yeah.
I really should tell you about that Uranus and AI. It might be a good time to tell you about it and
Yeah.
explain what, because it ties in what you've just said. Because you're
Hmm.
absolutely right. This age of technology is allowing us to become something we never imagined we would become, and we couldn't do it without AI. I'll explain why. Because back in, and this is something will be really interesting for everyone. Back in the Industrial Revolution has actually ended, right?
Yeah.
Although every single man on the planet is still living in it and will never leave it because it suits the patriarchal mindset
Right.
beautifully. It's done. It was the
Hmm.
age of Pisces that ran between 1812 and 2012. It ended in 2012. The headline was the world's going to end. It's the end of the Mayan calendar. What actually happened on that day was we actually entered the age of Aquarius for the first time in 2,400 years.
Yeah.
Before Christ was the last time we entered the age of Aquarius. That should have been the headline. It's a 200-year cycle.
Yeah.
And we will all live and die as sentient beings in the age of Aquarius. So that begs the question, well, who rules Aquarius? And it's Uranus, a planet 68 times
Hmm.
larger than Earth and has 28 moons. I honestly, Jess, I love human beings. They make me laugh because our deluded mindset of will and willpower that it actually might exist when we're going head to head with a planet that is 68 times larger than Earth it's farcical. It's ludicrous. No,
Hmm.
I will make this happen. Uranus 68 times bigger than Earth with 28 moons, electromagnetically driving everything that happens down here, as above,
Hmm.
so below. He's
Right.
saying, no, you won't. He's like, it's not going to happen. You're a minion. You're just like one of it. You can't go head to head with me. And so you say, what does Uranus want? And what Uranus wants is five things, an elliptical cycle, Uranus.
Okay.
So it goes like this. And so because of that, it loves change. It's like, yeah, all good, change, all good, change, all good, change. It's not like that, right? And so it loves change. And Uranus's mindset is if you're anchored to any position, mortgage, career, kids, school, location, becomes something of a problem in the age of Aquarius ruled by Uranus. But the thing about Uranus, I want everyone to know this would be quite important for all your followers and subscribers, Jess, is that Uranus is utopian. It's a utopian planet, but it's disruptive and it's a maverick. So it's a disruptive maverick, but utopian planet. And everyone needs to focus on the utopian aspect. And so it really forward thinking because it's about change is number one. Number two is it's about like in the old days, people would say, right, I'm going to get back to the shape I was in when I was 21. I'm going to give myself 2 years. Uranus in the age of technology is going, you got 2 days, pal. That's it. You got no more, mate. You got two. It's like, that's gone. The other thing that Uranus is saying is you need to be the best version of yourself right now, mentally,
Mm.
physically, spiritually, emotionally, right now, right? Not 2 years from now, because
Yeah.
it's moving fast. You need to be the best version. And then the other three are aligned, and it's innovation, originality, and technology. And technology being AI. And what
Hmm.
Uranus is also saying is, listen, I'm sick and tired of you. Human beings, you've wrecked the planet, you've destroyed it, right? You haven't created anything original. The last movie that was decent movie was maybe made in 1977. Nothing innovative has happened in
Hmm.
decades. We live on a cycle of just nonsense. We just serve nonsense. I mean, there's nothing new. Everything's repeated cycles. There's nothing original. And Uranus is like, I'm done with that. And you're done with it. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm creating AI. It's kind of barometer, right? And it does two things. Remember, I'm not going to build a bunch of robots to take you down because I'm utopian. I'm not interested in that nonsense. I'm creating AI to allow you to become the best version of yourself that you didn't even know you could become. You didn't even know it existed. And the other reason AI is there is me saying, if I can do it, you're dumb. So jump on this bandwagon, become the best version of yourself, and let's get back to how it was originally. We can all become artisans. Yes, we have to separate ourselves from the pack. But the reason I'm saying all this is because one planet's driving that mindset, and one planet is driving AI, and it doesn't want to take us down. It just wants us to get real and become who we want us to be. There's a lot of
Hmm.
people out there that are getting towards 50 and thinking, I want to wake up happy and enthralled every day after I'm 50. I mean, and it's this mindset, it's collective mindset, it's becoming, and
Hmm.
that thing, that humanitarian thing about health and wellness and becoming the best version of yourself now. What's meant to happen is people are meant to say, Jess Phillips, you've never looked so good, sounded so happy. What happened? right? And you'll be like, well, I spoke to Uranus, and probably be the first thing you say. But then you'll say, come, I'll buy your coffee. Let me tell you what happens, right? What happened? They will then follow your lead, and then their friend 2 years down the line will then follow their lead. And it becomes a very, very, very collective mindset. But Uranus in its utopian, and some would say idealistic way, because Aquarians are quite idealistic, but it has the power for all of us to become like truly happy. Like I woke
Mm.
up, like, you know, I'm edging my way towards 128 years old, but I wake up happy every single day because I do what I love, right? And I
Right.
was excited, beyond excited to do your podcast. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is like because I'm being asked to do something that I love. And everyone I feel, you feel the same way. This
Yeah.
is why you've been dipping your toes into the world of astrology
Yep.
and indoctrinating your children, by the way.
Exactly.
It's this. It's like we're all like it didn't. And we're not saying you have to leave your other job, but just set in motion, right? Because I know
Hmm.
there's a reality of life, but use AI and it is amazing what it can do for you to set in motion a part of your life, as you say. Not every part is set in stone, right? Even if that one is set in stone for the next few years, you can still set in motion a path that will bring instant joy and ultimately maybe the sort of the single path of joy. So it's like, but always bear in mind that Uranus is utopian and its mindset is positive. And if you help yourself, Uranus will help you, is the overriding
Mm.
thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm chatting away
Yeah.
there,
I
but
no, I love that take on Uranus because I feel like so often it gets this kind of like negative association where it's like disruptive and
yeah,
bad and
yeah,
all of these things. And I don't know. I mean, I do believe that there is a shadow side to everything, but it's like there has to be like there's goodness to all of it if you just use it in the right way. If you channel
it,
it, if you're aware of the metaphysical energy and what it could do for you, you can
yeah.
act on it, right?
Yeah, it's 1,000% correct. Yeah, and you're right. There is a shadow side to everything. Like even Saturn, right? Saturn is brutal, right? But if you play Saturn's game,
Yeah.
will absolutely reward you. It's like, but
Yeah.
you do what I say when I tell you you can do it, says Saturn.
Yeah.
But if you do, and this is what the Industrial Revolution defined by Saturn, really.
Mhm.
And the dark side of Uranus is absolutely right. Uranus is basically because the dark side is Uranus
Yeah.
will take your role, right? It will take your role because, like, you shouldn't be doing this. I can
Right.
do this. It's this.
Yes.
I'm not. So, yeah, I know you're looking at it thinking I'm taking your role. I'm not taking a role. This is a brilliant artist called Ren, right? Who's an incredible musician. I adore this boy, and he's doing things musically that AI knows it won't be able to do in 200 years' time.
Mm.
And this is
Beautiful.
what Jonas is saying. I don't want to supersede Ren. I freaking love what Ren's doing right now. He's a
Yeah.
genius, right? And
Yeah.
I'm supportive of what he's doing. And I'm not going to try and supersede him in any way, shape, or
Yeah.
form because I'm not going to be able to because he's doing things. And this is my point. It's like I can't do things that many of you can do. And
Yeah.
nor do you, but the opportunity is presenting itself. If
Yeah.
that makes
That makes
sense.
sense. I mean, Uranus must love fire then, because it feels a little bit like it can be trial by fire.
Well, you have to go back to like the sign that it rules, which is Aquarius, right?
Aquarius, an
And
air sign.
Aquarius is actually deeply humanitarian, and it's
Yeah.
really not so. It's more. It's more maverick, right?
Mm.
It's a sort of. It's a little. You know, Uranus is known as a kind of. It's not. I know the trickster, but it's not the trickster. But it's just. It's more maverick. So it's. I mean, the the energy, the fiery planet is obviously is the cliche one is Mars, and it really is because it gives you energy, but it can also be very, very volatile. Now, Uranus's energy is much more, it's kind of idealistic. And it's so idealistic because it rules Aquarius, who are the ultimate
Mhm.
idealists, in that it actually needs us like to actually sort of bring the idealism into a reality that is workable, if that makes any sense.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
doing it in a kind of creative, innovative, and maverick-esque way. But it's not Uranus in and of itself is not volatile. Like the volatile one is Pluto, for example, can be volatile, but it also
Okay.
depends where these planets reside. You know what I mean?
Right.
I
That does make
mean,
sense.
yeah, I mean Uranus in Aries for example, when it's in Aries. I mean, currently Uranus is in Gemini, so
Right.
it's not volatile. But Uranus in Aries absolutely could be regarded as somewhat
Mm.
volatile. And then and
Okay.
Uranus in probably Aries, maybe Libra. would be,
Okay.
I would regard that as quite volatile. So if you want to look at the volatility of planets, look at where they're currently sitting or where they're currently residing, for
That
example.
makes sense.
Pluto in Capricorn, which it was until November, I think it's November 19th, 2024. Therefore, it was in Capricorn for 18 years, beyond
Yeah.
destructive, but then moved into Aquarius for 20 years. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Humanitarian.
Yeah.
In Capricorn, it destroyed everything. And it moved into
Mm,
Aquarius. It's like, now I can help you deconstruct and reconstruct. Completely different energy.
got
So
it.
really, when you want to look at the volatility of a planet, as you say, they all have shadow sides. It's where are they sitting? What star sign are they currently
Yeah.
residing in? And they all have different cycles. Like Uranus is
That
like
makes
a kind
sense.
of 7-year cycle. So that
Yeah.
7-year period when Uranus was in Aries, which wasn't that long ago, it was only about 14 years ago, when life was pretty
That's right.
volatile. You can look at
And
that period.
Uranus right now is in what?
It's currently retrograding in Taurus. It will
That's
it
recently.
will
Yeah.
it will station and go direct. I'm pretty sure it's on October, February 12th or 13th or 14th, and then it's
Okay.
heading toward, and then will go back into Gemini, and
That's what I was thinking. Okay.
it officially arrives in Gemini on April 26, 2026, and that officially anoints the age of AI and technology on the grandest scale, and that will
Okay.
commence a 6.5-year period of such dramatic change it will blow your mind. So what we're talking about is like, make sure you have set in motion something magical and potentially glorious, courtesy of AI, before April 26th, because you're going to be playing catch up from that point.
Okay. That's a great. Okay, so when we're looking at 2026 on the Chinese calendar, so starting February 17th of this
Yeah,
year, we're
yeah,
moving into the fire horse, which is
yeah,
beautiful. It's humanitarian,
yeah,
it's independent. It wants you to kind of jump into like these things. And then you also look at fast forward to April 26th,
yeah,
we've got Uranus is going into Gemini, and so that's AI explosion. So
yeah.
we've got a lot happening here
Well,
from February to the end of April.
Well, there's one more thing in February that has to be
Okay.
mentioned, which is
Oh,
actually Saturn and Neptune conjunct
yeah.
at 1 degree Aries, right? And that hasn't happened for probably like, I don't know, 150 billion years or something at 1 degree Aries. The reason 1 degree Aries is so relevant is because it's the first degree of the 360 degrees, 1 degree
Yeah.
Aries. So it's
And
powerful.
it's Saturn and Neptune doing
Well,
both of them.
it's structure, and it's structure and like idealism and sort of like just illusion and God knows what else. And
Yeah.
these two planets would normally go head to head. I expect it to be, there are a whole bunch of astrologers going, oh, we are the ones going to win. They're going to
Yeah.
go head to head. Saturn is going to resist. Saturn, right, which rules money and structure and everything else and
Mhm.
banking. It will be very aware of the fact that it's going to be very difficult for that to control AI. AI ain't going to be easy to manage at all. So Saturn will be thinking, I actually need to work with this new world.
Mhm.
Neptune is beyond new world. So I'm expecting Saturn and Neptune to actually align. And Saturn's saying to Neptune, listen, we both know that you're some spiritual, mystical, unrealistic, idealistic, mad, sort of ethereal entity that can't really like create a structure or a system. You know it and I know it, says Saturn. And Neptune is like, I'm not going to disagree with that, Saturn, but if you think I'm going to play by your rules anymore, forget it. And Saturn's going to go, no. I'm thinking we can sort of we can create structure. We can
Yeah.
give structure to your mindset, which will
Mhm.
be benefic for you and I and the universe per se. This is how I picture it playing out. But
I love that. Yeah.
yeah, it's a nice visual. I mean, again, I'm so left-handed, so I kind of visualize this loving. You know what I mean? But it's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
we'll
well,
see
I think
how.
that's nice though. It's like if you think about the idea and the structure coming together, and then
Yeah,
at the end of April, the AI exploding. So you can take what you've created here and boom, you're off to the races. And that
yeah.
really sets like a beautiful pathway for um for AI just to take off.
And
Right?
it's a 2 month window, February 20th to April
Yeah.
26th. It's like it's 2 months, 6 days, and it's just like, okay, this is an incredible window of opportunity for everyone to go right. Actually, Neptune and Saturn have actually not imploded. They're actually beginning. They've agreed to work as one, which is
Mhm.
great. So that's structure and the ability to go wherever I want, which is what Neptune is. You can go wherever you want, right? And Saturn is like going, yes, but within my little structure that I've created for you, Neptune. And
Yeah.
then, and you can think, and I can utilize AI and
Right.
absolutely from April 26th in order to sort of play within the remit of what Saturn and Neptune have laid down, which is not oppressive structure and not unrealistic nonsense. A fusion of the two, infuse that with AI, who's utopian in its nature.
Yes.
Well, says human being, I rather like the sound of that
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah, beautiful. And then you take it, you put it on the back of the horse, and pshoo, here we go, off to independent humanitarianism.
No, it's awesome, Mark. This is going to
Yeah.
be. I think there's going to be some huge horse sales going on around the year. I just need a horse so I can just ride it to where some place where I can just sort of like
Yeah. But look,
incorporate all these energies.
I mean, horses are incredible creatures, and you look at like the impact that the horse has had on humanity, like
Mm,
humanity in general. It's
yeah,
like, how did you get from one place to another? It was a long distance, right?
yeah, yeah.
Before domesticating the horse, you couldn't do anything with that, right?
Well, also horse people born near of a horse are regarded as being super intelligent, and
Yeah.
horses. You look at horses, right? And I mean,
Yeah.
they're super sensitive characters because
Hmm.
they pick up every single nuance that us humans
Yeah.
generate. And you've seen there's a lady on Instagram that plays a guitar, plays songs. The horses just it
Yeah.
calms their soul. Well, who else are calm? Who else's soul is calmed by music? Human beings.
Humans. Yeah.
Everything is interconnected. It's really
Yeah.
integrated. And we can learn so much from like every other sentient being out there. You know what I mean? Just the way life is. It's just magical. I mean, the
Yeah.
truth is human beings have lost sight of everything. And once you step back and become your autonomous, independent self, you
Yeah.
just think, oh God, this world is actually you're less stressed for one. The thing about life is if you wake up every day thinking, how am I going to pay? I must pay the bills. I must make a buck. Yes, but don't let that be your first thought. Right?
Right.
It's about having a different mindset. I want to make myself the best version of me that I can, but
Hmm.
I don't want you don't have to go down the gym these days. You don't have to
Right.
go like Tai Chi. There's so many things you can do, right?
Hmm.
That don't take long, right? I mean, it's just things like this. You can. It's sort of like I haven't got time. I haven't got time to do this. I haven't got time
Yeah.
to set out the emotion. And again, like in the age of Aquarius, Uranus is like, I'm not interested in any victimhood, any like woe is
Hmm.
me, I haven't got
Yeah.
time, I haven't got time. Uranus is quite this is the dark side, the shadow side of Uranus.
Yeah.
Uranus is like, well, you can get your shit together, get up an hour earlier, even if you've got 12 kids or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Uranus might say, look at Jess Phillips, right?
Yeah.
3 kids, 3 to 8 years old,
Yep.
like doing more than like you're doing right
Hmm.
now, right? And that is okay. So that Uranus is quite brutal in that respect. It's say I'm actually trying to create nirvana for you guys, right? But if you're not willing to put the effort
Right.
in for yourself, then you will suffer the consequences type thing. But
Yeah.
the universe, I've gone off piece there. I was talking about horse. I don't know what we're talking about there, but it's no, sorry, but it's no, I wake up happy every single day, and
Good.
so do you, and the rest of the universe. Don't die without trying. That's my mindset. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like
Yeah.
at least try. I
Yeah.
told you earlier on, I think before we started talking, my father said to me, "You're an astrologer. End of story. Trust me, I'm an astrologer. I know an astrologer when I see one. That's
Hmm.
it. And I know you're going to make a whole host of terrible decisions. And I
Yeah.
absolutely have done, not least dating too many fire horses throughout my lifetime. And and I drank too much tequila and I did all this. But dad always said, just perfect your craft. And I really
Yes.
think there's something truly joyous about
Hmm.
having a craft that you have the potential to perfect.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the age of technology and Uranus and AI will provide the platform for every single one of us to potentially at least attempt it. And I think that's something magical to embrace.
I agree wholeheartedly. And I love that positive outlook just to counter so many people who think that the world is going to end every day.
I know.
Um, and I do, I love that. I think that is really just the perfect way to end the podcast is on that beautiful positive note. And Hagen, if someone wants to do a reading with you, or learn more about what you're doing, where can they find you?
Well, it's very simple. It's just Hagan Fox. It's HAGANFOX. Hagan Fox. Well, www.haganfox.us.
Mm,
United States. That's it. So www.haganfox.us, and it's my website. And this you can just book on there. It's
perfect.
very straightforward. Find out a little
Great.
bit about my backstory. But yeah, and I cover, and you know that I cover everything. literally Western, Chinese astrology, Vedic astrology, cartography, numerology, because these are all interweaving
Yeah.
energy. And we must understand that they're all, like just as an example, on any given day, you're in a Chinese year, Chinese month, Chinese day, numerical year, numerical month, numerical day. That's just 6 interweaving energies without even
Mhm.
mentioning Western astrology. And this is what people just don't understand. And they plan their day, not understanding that all 6
Yeah.
of those energies could be working against them on that day.
Mhm.
This is the problem with life. It's like, why did that they go wrong? I planned it so well because the enormous energy up there, as above, so
Yeah.
below, was working entirely against you on that particular day. So
Yeah.
make the decisions on the right day and things like this. Anyway,
Yeah. I think that's
long,
brilliant.
long
That's
answer.
perfect. Okay, well, we're gonna link that in the show notes below. So,
Thank you.
give Hagan a follow. He's got some of the most hilarious and accurate videos, I feel like, on Instagram too. So I'm gonna link your Instagram here, below. But Hagan, it was a wonderful treat to talk to you. Thank you so much for sharing your joy and positivity about 2026.
Well, I want to say, just Phillips, long may this wonderful podcast continue. Long may you indoctrinate your kids. I'm so in favor of that. And
Thank
it's
you.
been a joy. And here's an example for everyone out there, right? Because you're born year of the rat and I'm born year of the dragon. And every
Yeah.
animal has 2 soulmates. And we're
Mhm.
soulmates in that we're in our own little
Ah,
triumvirate. And so,
perfect.
yeah, but this is for everyone out there as well. If you dip your toes into the world challenge astrology, understand who your 2 soulmates are and go
Mm,
hunt them down because they will bring you joy. It's like a natural dynamic. And because of that, it's been an absolute joy. I've loved every second. It's been an absolute joy. So I thank you, Jeff Phillips. Thank you very much.
perfect.